Okay, I think it's now 11:30. So yeah, thank you very much for coming to the session today. Today's session is about mastering customer-centric marketing for revenue growth and lasting loyalty, which is a big mouthful. So I will break down what that means. Before doing so, a quick introduction as to the company I work for, Iterable. We are a customer engagement platform, and I'll show you a little bit of what we do shortly. A bit about myself. So I'm a principal solutions consultant. I've been at Iterable for almost 4 years now. Born and raised in London, South London specifically. 10 years in marketing technology. 6 years as a digital consultant at Deloitte in their MarTech division, but then also their customer division, and hopefully that's relevant as to why I'm sharing that. And then some personal facts. I like to moonlight as a DJ in the evenings for the few people that will listen to me. I love to cycle, less so running. I'm really, really fascinated by the unknown. So what I don't know that I don't know. So like the James Webb Telescope and scientific discoveries. Why am I up here kind of awkwardly sharing snippets about myself? I think it's very easy for us as practitioners to forget that we are also customers. So we often get lost in the day-to-day of either the product or the service that we provide and the functional requirements around that. But at the end of the day, we are also all customers. And as customers, we tend to have affinity to certain brands. So when I am listening to music, I really like Bose because I think they have outstanding customer service. The only bicycle I've ever bought is Trek because it's been really, really reliable to me. And when I post things about cycling, occasionally running, I do so on Strava because I really like their UI. So all of those brands I just mentioned, they have, at least for me, created memorable experiences. And so what I want to do today is see if we can leave you with some tips as to how you can steer towards being a bit more customer obsessed as opposed to product obsessed, and what is the makeup around that thinking. Then touching briefly on the wider MarTech maturity landscape. So a lot of you would have seen some of the images that I'm going to show. Then looking at creating a moment. So what do I mean by a moment? Well, I've just given you some positive experiences I have with some of those brands I just mentioned. Bose, Trek, Strava was the other one. That overwhelming positive experience is created by certain moments, and what we'd like to leave you with, and there's a sheet, hopefully a red sheet on your chair, is some tactics and some methodologies as to how you can, as marketers, optimize for those moments. So this presentation was originally going to be given by Russ Howe, who leads our EMEA practice. He's a very scientific and process-driven man, which I absolutely love. So there's definitely going to be a few graphs and things in here, but also I'd love it to be interactive. So just some icebreakers, please feel free to answer and not leave me up here awkwardly waiting. So the last thing, I was going to show a success story, but I'm actually going to show you something in the platform instead, because as a solutions consultant, that is what I tend to do. So starting with how can we be focused on being more customer obsessed as opposed to product obsessed. So first, icebreaker, what is it as marketers that we are fighting for? What is the resource that we're trying to get off everybody? Any answers there for that badly worded question? Time, yep, time. And then also related to time is attention. So how do we get the attention of those who we're trying to engage? So this is from 46 years ago, so well before all of the digital disruptions we have in our pockets and on our wrists, but a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. So it's very difficult for us to navigate through all of the noise that we experience on a day-to-day basis. So when I say noise, what do I mean? 10,000 plus adverts, 100 plus emails, 50 plus mobile notifications, and most of this is created by those of you in this room. So we are all exposed to this. So how do we navigate through this and make sure that we're providing relevant experiences and moments? So quick stat. Emotionally connected customers are 2 times as valuable as highly satisfied customers. So me being emotionally connected to Trek and to Bose and to Strava, that's why I've mentioned these brands, because immediately off the back of my mind, I can think of the positive sentiment I have towards them. But there are a few things to take into consideration when you're trying to be customer obsessed instead of product obsessed. So the first around your product or service is it functional? Does it work? When I upload my cycle on Strava, does it actually upload successfully, or are there issues with the gateway? Is it reliable? So can I count on it to have tracked my route geographically accurately and to the correct time? Is it usable? So subjective somewhat, but can I use it? Is it easy for me to tag my friends and then also share on social media? So those first 3 are, I guess, foundational when it comes to creating a product. But when we now look to steering to be a bit more customer obsessed, there are 3 other considerations. So the first is it convenient? So a good example of companies who haven't reinvented the wheel but decided to steer themselves to be a bit more customer obsessed. Uber, everyone knows who Uber is. When I was a young man back in the day, it was very difficult for me to catch a black cab, because you would have to make sure they're going in your direction, make sure that they didn't have somebody in there already, make sure that they took cash, make sure that they like the look of you. All of that is taken away from Uber being focused on being convenient, having it delivered through an app where you can track and pay for everything from there. Is the product pleasurable? So again, similar to usable, subjective somewhat, but are there positive sentiments that can be generated from your product that you can then use to share to friends and family, which then create net promoters? And the final bit is trust. So that can be interpreted in a few different ways. It can be, do you trust somebody with your data from a security perspective, or are they aligned to your personal values? So whether it's environmental or even political, do you trust that brand with your data and everything you're giving them? So once you have all of these components, these allow you to be customer obsessed, and because essentially you're empowering the customer to feel like they have choice and control in how they're engaged with you. Some other stats to back this up. So 59% of consumers will walk away from a bad experience. 93% of customers will repeat a purchase after excellent service. So that's 100% true with me and that Bose example. And then this one is quite significant, 600% more expensive to acquire versus retain customers. So for the customers that you already have, what are you doing to prevent them from churning, but then also enhancing the experience as opposed to driving that spend toward acquisition? So it would be impossible to talk about being customer obsessed without understanding how to do that. And of course, that is with data. Maybe some of you were in the previous Customer.io session. This will steer a little differently in that we will try and leave you with considerations as to being able to evaluate where you are and how you can get to where you'd like to be. So most people have seen that illustration on the left. For those that haven't, this is an illustration of every single platform within the MarTech space as of 2023. I think we're waiting for this year's one, but you can see that is a colossal number of 11,038. Iterable, the company I work for, is one of those 11,038. But what is important to note is how quickly that amount has increased. And why am I talking about this? As practitioners, this makes it even harder for you to navigate the landscape, to understand what it is that you need in order to carry out your day-to-day. the reason that that there's been such a sharp increase is illustrated here. So I did mention Russ, who was originally meant to present this, very scientific and graph-driven man, but hopefully what you can see from here is that over time, there has been a democratization of technology. So lower barriers to entry. So maybe 50 years ago, to perform what is now to us a simple task, you would need an on-premise, expensive solution with a number of highly trained consultants just to perform something like a SQL query, as an example. But now, as we move over time, we've moved to low code and now to no code, and then finally to AI-generated technologies. So because of this, this means that more and more players are available who can concentrate on really, really niche elements that can help you in your day-to-day, but as the previous diagram showed, makes it difficult to navigate. Another byproduct of having so many platforms is, of course, data. So this illustrates how much data we are tackling and coming into on a day-to-day basis. So 5.9 million Google searches per minute, 374 billion emails sent a day, and then 328 trillion megabytes of volume of data created each day. So these are big numbers and often difficult to conceptualize. So second icebreaker, can anybody tell me how long 1 million seconds is within days, weeks? I'll take any guesses. Sorry?
12 days.
Ooh, that is, did you cheat? Oh, okay. Yeah, that is correct. That is 11.7 days. What about 1 billion seconds? Anybody? We're in the years now, just to give you a bit of a clue. How many?
32 years.
Yeah, well, how do you, yeah. Okay, 32 years and 1 trillion seconds. Didn't know this one, did ya? It is 31,000 years. So we've gone from 11 to 12 days, 31 years, 31,000 years, just to show you the exponential growth, and hopefully allows you to start getting a feel of how much data we're being asked to handle, store, and look after. This is another illustration of it. So if a byte is a grain of rice, as you go up that scale, it's 1,000. So 1,000 bytes in a kilobyte, 1,000 kilobytes in a megabyte, and so on. So 1 grain of rice, and then a zettabyte will fill the Pacific Ocean. So to put that into context, every 3 days we create enough new data, so the delta, to fill the Pacific Ocean. In our brains, we have the capacity for 2.5 petabytes. And then perhaps as business practitioners, the one to remember is that it costs 750,000 on average, according to Gartner, for a business to store a petabyte of data a year. So lots of volume, lots of cost, which makes it even harder as marketers and mobile marketers to untangle this data and use it in your day-to-day. So if we stick to the Strava example, knowing things such as my name, my preferred route, that would be structured data that you see in the top 27%. But then there's going to be all of this other data that is either locked in silos, it's uncleansed, it's not available, that we're not leveraging to engage with our customers effectively. So what this essentially creates is a gap between the data that we have and then how we're able to engage our users. So leading to questions like, who do we send a message to, at what time, what should that message contain, making it even harder for us to achieve our day-to-day. This graph is just an illustration of the different types of systems available. So against architecture and activation. So system of record, that might be an Excel spreadsheet that contains some information. System of engagement, this might be allowing you to engage with customers on individual touch points like email, mobile push, maybe siloed, maybe together. System of insight, this is where you can begin to bring those touch points together, but then most importantly, look back at how they performed and then use that information going forward. And then we're now delving into the worlds of systems of intelligence and systems of disruption. So often what we see at Iterable when we're speaking to our customers is organizations get stuck here, and they get stuck there because they may be using one channel or two channels, and then they're now using automated journeys, which is great. And then now we've been inundated with AI, and people are trying to layer on top of what they already have without understanding the data that powers it. So what this means is a few things. So on the left, and I'm definitely guilty of this, is how we believe our customers move through journeys. So touch points, sequential, maybe I've signed up, I make my first purchase. This is how we sometimes expect our customers to move, and then we react to that accordingly. So we're trying to push me, Philip, to that first sign up, and then you're trying to get me to that first purchase. In reality, a customer's journey looks a lot more like this. So it's episodic moments of engagement. So 1 minute they're engaged, the next minute they're not. They're jumping across different channels. And so we would be remiss to try and force our customers into this linear way of thinking. And instead, we need to take a step back and think, what are the tools that we have to allow us to accommodate for this mess? There's no other way to explain it. But I think the one constant of this messiness is that customer that's within there. So whether we like it or not, this is the reality of how our customers move. So we need to make sure that we have the tools to allow us to manage this. Last graph, I promise. So this is an illustration of the different intelligence and analytics capabilities that we have available. So the way that Russ describes it with the analogy, and I really like this, is driving a car. So to explain what I mean, when we're at that business intelligence stage, we are looking in the rearview mirror. So we're looking at what we've already done, but we're not taking any steps to move forward. So we're analyzing data that we already have. Predictive analytics, this is where we now start to take in information in front of us. So someone stepped into the road, the light's gone green. So we're reacting to what we see and applying foresight to it to determine what we do next. Prescriptive analytics, this is where we are on the motorway and then we've hit cruise control. So the car's not in complete control yet, but they are doing a lot of the automation for us. And then cognitive analytics, unfortunately, most of us won't live to see the analogy of a car picking us up from the pub, but that would be the ideal, where everything is done for you. Those decisions are taken away from you, freeing up your time to think about more creative or strategic things. So a moment. So I've been speaking about experiences, those positive experiences I have with brands. Those experiences are made up of multiple moments. So what do I mean? If we go back to that maturity curve of different systems, on the channel side, in terms of maturity, you might be engaging with users on different touch points. The execution's ad hoc, so think about a blast push campaign. As an example, the technology might be siloed. You might have one for push, one for email, one for other channels, and then the measurement is revenue. Now take it the next step to journeys, which a lot of us in this room are doing. Actually, quick show of hands, who is doing automated journeys? I won't make you talk. I just want to see if anyone is doing them. Perfect. Okay, cool. So with journeys, this is where they are sequential, but they are integrated. And the measurement here is customer lifetime value. So not just revenue. What is the lifetime value of Philip over time after he's bought 3 different Trek bikes? And then the final, I guess, fear that we're trying to evolve into is that of experiences, which are made up of multiple moments. So this, going back to that messy customer graph that you saw, but it is the reality. This is where execution is iterative. It's in real time. And that CBCV, I can never remember offhand. It is consumer-based corporate values. And when Russ talks about this, we're not looking at revenue as a snapshot or lifetime value. Instead, this is a measurement that investment analysts use to understand what is the potential value of that user based on the information that we have. So now kind of honing in on that moment. So remember, I have an experience, and that's made up of multiple moments. Now what we want to try and do is leave you with tactical things you can do to optimize on these moments. So we call it at Iterable the anatomy of a moment, and we've broken it down into three things. So what is the goal of that moment? Who is the audience? So who is it that's experiencing it? And what is the action that they take? So this kind of expands on that slightly, where for an audience, we're trying to identify who it is. Are they anonymous users? Are they signed in? What is the action we're trying to get them to take? And then we're trying to activate them with a goal. And to show you what we mean, we've got an example with Fit TV, who's an Iterable customer of ours, and what a moment might be to them. Before going into that, I think one thing that we've seen in the workshops that we've done at Iterable is that almost all customers and prospective customers that we speak to can immediately identify moments to their business that are critical to them. So we spoke to one company about 3 weeks ago, and when we showed this to them, they immediately resonated and said, oh, we know exactly what you mean. They supply services online, and then you can also buy them. So like plumbing, cleaning, and things like that. And they found that if users hadn't made their first booking within the first 72 hours, then the drop-off is catastrophic. So for them, they were focused on how can they optimize on that moment of getting users to book within that first 72 hours. For Fit TV, in this example, we might be trying to encourage users to go from a free to a paid model. So the audience would be anyone who has downloaded the app, who's completed 4 workouts. Then the action is to try and get them to view next week's workouts. And then the goal here, as I mentioned, is to upgrade them from a freemium to a premium subscription. So what we're going to do, I think we have time. Yeah, we do, just for a couple of minutes. On the red sheet that you have, if maybe you can think, and hopefully this is helpful, of moments for your own business, key critical moments. If you can write them down, what the audience is, what the action is, and then what the goal is. And then, yeah, I think we'll reconvene in like a minute or two. So who is the target audience? What is the action you're trying to get from them? And then what is the goal? If you don't have a red sheet, feel free to write it down on your phone. But hopefully this is relatively useful in terms of trying to understand what it is you can optimize for within your business. I'll give it, a minute or two, and then, yeah. Anyone brave enough to tell me about their moment? Anybody? Okay, well, hopefully this at least gives you the tactics to either go away and do that, or think about what are those kind of key moments within your business. So we will skip this. So it'd be remiss for me as a solutions consultant not to then show you some solutions that can help you do some of these things, optimize for these moments within a customer engagement platform tool like Iterable. So next best action. This is a tool whereby, or feature I should say, sorry, if you have a live campaign running within Iterable and you would like to be given suggestions as the next best thing to carry out. So whether it's a subject line, whether it's who you should target, this effectively takes away some of the thinking, but still giving you the optionality of deciding, should I now use this new subject line? Should I now send to this group of users? Because according to Iterable, by doing this, this will now optimize on your goal, for example, of increasing the amount of clicks. My favorite thing that we've released recently, or one of my favorite things, is this predictive goals. And actually, what I'm going to do, because I much prefer to do this, is just show you exactly what it is. So this is inside the Iterable platform. And just as a reminder, we're a customer engagement platform that allows you to engage across a number of different channels. So email, push, SMS, in-app, and so on. But where we've been focused recently is trying to ride the AI wave in a way that is productive to the users of our platform. So hopefully this will bring it to life a little bit. So with predictive goals, this allows you to see the likelihood that somebody is going to carry out a goal. So this is the home page. If we go to that workout screen, what we're doing here is we're saying, hey, Iterable, for everyone within the database, what is the likelihood that a user is going to complete 7 or more workouts within 30 days? Maybe we've decided that as a moment that we want to optimize on because we've seen those users are much more likely to make a paid subscription. So using all of the data that you would have sent into us via our APIs or a native CDP, in reality, it takes up to 24 hours to compute. But then now what happens is every single user has a score between 0 and 1. So those customers that have a score closer to 0, based on the information that we have on them, we believe that they're very, very unlikely to complete 7 or more workouts within that period. For those here on the very right, maybe they've already done so, or they've indicated that they are going to. But as a marketer, you're probably interested in these people on the histogram, those people who are on the cusp of doing something, but now you want to give them the extra push to do so. And because it's simply a score and their user profile, you can use it within a template. You can use it within a segment, but where we're trying to differentiate ourselves with this offering is with this, by allowing you to understand your predictions. So we call this explainable AI, because often with AI, things are a black box and you're just told to trust people with your data and then trust what the output is. This adds an element of transparency whereby what we're saying is, of that goal of understanding the likelihood of users who are going to work out 7 or more times, what are those attributes that are most contributing towards it? Is it because they've watched a particular video? Is it because they've opened a particular email? So then you as a marketer can see which ones are likely to increase the likelihood and then which ones are likely to decrease the likelihood. So these are using your own data that you send into the platform. And then that will allow you to do something like this. So this, for the body coach, then they're another Iterable customer. So this is a rich push notification. And what I'm doing is previewing this push with some data. So I have my user profile within the platform, and I'm now viewing this rich push. And this is encouraging me to finish those workouts with some gamification, saying I'm 18 or so workouts away. When I preview this and I change the data, let's say the goal is 30, and I've now put 32 on the left, then using conditional logic, which can also use that predictive goal, then you can personalize what it is that you're sending to users. So hopefully that's an example of how you can use something like predictive goals to understand your data that you send into us first, and then use that to action and optimize the messages that you send from a platform like ours. And the last thing we want to leave you with was just a case study. We're actually doing a fireside chat with Walt in June, and I'll leave the QR code up at the end just so you can sign up for it. But they're a current customer of ours doing a significant localization and then using our platform to optimize on users making their first takeout order, and then beyond that with the journeys that they have to activate those users. So quite a lot there, a lot of graphs, a lot of bits of the platform, some takeaway sheets, but hopefully the 3 things that would like you to go away with is, number 1, to be customer obsessed, you need to be data obsessed. So understanding where your data is, cleansing it, and making it sure that you can activate it as marketers. Number 2 is understanding the moments most important to your business. And I think this is critical. Once you understand those key moments, you can then prioritize them to your business and then optimize them across your different organizational functions. So then everyone is singing from the same hymn sheet. And then the final part is optimizing and scaling with AI. So appreciate different, all of you would be on different parts of your journey, whether it's individual touch points, whether you're moving onto your second channel, whether you have fully automated journeys, and now looking how you can use something like predictive goals or next best action to further automate the process, freeing up your time for more strategic and creative thinking. Yeah, that is it from me. This is our next fireside chat that we have available, so feel free to sign up online, where Walt will tell you a bit more about that. But yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.